Pearls listeners, this is part 3 of 3 on a mini-series of the Chicagoland ice raids of winter 2025, a subset of the show's regular community resistance series. Today we're closing out with an interview from social worker Giselle Rodriguez of the nonprofit Illinois Workers in Action. If she sounds tired, it's because she was wading through grant reporting for several hours just before the call, and her small team has been working hard across Illinois, hosting Know Your Rights seminars, one of which I attended. It's information highly relevant to everyone, the constitutional rights of undocumented migrants and how to best leverage them for maximum effect. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that a majority of Pearls listeners have citizenship status, but the critical info you learn here can help a neighbor in need when the clinking of cuffs comes knocking on their door. If you're in Illinois, go check them out. If not, look for your local immigrants' rights group and learn more. After the interview, stick around for some closing thoughts. But for now, Giselle Rodriguez of Illinois Workers in Action. For the Poor Pros Almanac, I'm Dominic Guanzon, and I'm joined here over Zoom call after a lot of scheduling. I want to thank you for your time, Giselle Rodriguez of the Illinois Workers in Action. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Dominic, for having me, and thank you for being patient.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I understand. I attended your seminar a few weeks ago, Know Your Rights seminar, and it was very eye-opening. And even though I'm a native-born citizen, it was still very important to know a lot of the stuff, to really go kind of like step-by-step process onto like, hey, what to do, and yeah, the rights that people have regardless of their status. But yeah, actually, let's go into your background and the story of the IWA.
Well, I am Giselle Rodriguez. I am the co-founder and executive director of Illinois Workers in Action. Me and my husband founded the organization in 2021, so we are both co-founders. He is the president. And basically, Illinois Workers in Action was founded because we wanted to create a different organization where it was led by young professionals with the vision that we have in mind. And Illinois Workers in Action basically strives to educate workers around their rights. So we do a lot of education around workers' rights, talk to them about different issues and mistreatments that are happening in the workplace, but not only education, but we also do case management. So if they are experiencing any type of issue, we also help them resolve that issue, whether it be conversations with their employer, filing a complaint with the Department of Labor or any other entity within those matters. But basically, Illinois Works in Action was founded because we are really passionate about advocating for our Black and Brown communities. And myself, I'm also a social worker. And throughout my school, my undergrad and grad school experiences, I worked with different nonprofit organizations. So I was able to see different perspectives around immigration and labor rights organization nonprofits. And it kind of gave me different ideas of different models that I didn't want to replicate myself. So I had some different bad experience with some nonprofits, and I kind of just said, hey, maybe let's try to do something ourselves, right? We've been in these different spaces, so it's time for us to create something that we're willing, to fight for and to be able to be ourselves ultimately. But before that, my mom, she's an immigrant, she's undocumented. And in 2016, there was an ICE audit at her workplace, and this displaced around 100 different workers. So that's where it was really born, the idea of me being into workers' rights and labor rights stemmed from my mom, just because she was experienced that issue in her workplace, and not that was just really unjust. My mom was head of the household, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen. During that time, I was in community college, so I was paying off my school. She was working, taking care of our siblings. So I thought that was really unfair, and we really wanted to see what avenues did she have to try to resolve this matter. And that's basically where I was introduced into workers' rights and the labor movement. But yeah, it's a story that has a lot of different.
Yeah, no, it sounds like you've been passing it on ever since. That's awesome.
Yes, trying to help as much as we can.
So I will get right into it. Let's say, because there's an undocumented migrant who's listening to this, and ICE is knocking at their door. What are their rights, and what is the best practice in their interest?
All the individuals here in the United States, regardless of, citizenship status, we have rights. But specifically, if an undocumented immigrant is listening to this, you have rights. So you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to ask for an attorney. You have the right to refuse entry into your home, into your car. And there are two different documents that undocumented immigrants should be aware. One of them is an administrative warrant, and the other one is a judicial warrant. And with a administrative warrant, they cannot enter your home or your vehicle. But with the judicial warrant, they are able to enter your home and your vehicle. The judicial warrant is signed by a judge. And with this one, in order for the judicial warrant to be valid, it has to have your correct name, the correct date, your correct address, and then the judge's signature. And for example, I have two last names. I have a first name, I have a middle name. So in order for this judicial warrant to be valid, it has to have all of my four names on there. And a lot of the tactics that ICE use are really harmful. They try and lie and say that they are the police. Like for example, they can say, "Hey, something's going on with your car. Can you come out? I just want to talk." Little lies to get our community to come out when they know that they don't have the right. So we definitely have the right to remain silent. So making sure the individuals exercise their right. You do not have to answer any questions about your immigration status, where you were born, how long you have been in the United States. You can just simply say, "I wish to remain silent," or if you have a Know Your Rights card, you can hand that also to the ICE agent that basically tells them the same thing, your right to remain silent. Again, so the right to refuse entry. You have the right to an attorney. You have a right to request an attorney. Do not sign any documents. It's really important for individuals to not sign any documents. And again, going back to the tactics that are utilized by ICE, they try to pressure you into doing certain things or you telling them things. So it's important for them to also not sign any documents, although they might be pressured into doing so.
With the warrants in particular,
Yeah.
I remember seeing a video. I think it was out of New York. This was several years ago, but I think it was an ICE agent attempting to. There was a driver who just so happened to have the right training for this situation.
Those are not warrants of arrest,
Yes,
sir.
they are, sir. Warrant of arrest of alien.
Yeah, warrant of arrest of alien not signed by a judge. It's not a judicial warrant. I have no obligation to oblige by that warrant.
This is a lawful warrant.
Signed by a judge?
Of the Immigration and Nationality Act, and an official designated with that authority.
Are you hearing this, Mark?
Yeah, I'll tell him I'm on my way.
Our attorney's on his way. No, it's not a warrant. It's not a warrant under the Constitution of the United States.
It's a warrant under the Immigration and Nationality Act of the United States.
Okay, that's fine, but it's not under the Constitution. You have no jurisdiction over me as a citizen. I'm the driver of this vehicle.
Okay, are you familiar with Title 8, Section 1324 of U.S. Code?
Somewhat.
Somewhat. In what regard?
I'm studying to be a Department of Justice accredited representative, so I've been through trainings.
But the lawyer was in the driver's seat, and there were occupants in the back seat who we don't know. But the video showed that ICE was trying to show that, hey, we have a warrant, and they were putting it on the window of the car, the driver's side window, and it's like, it's right here. And the driver took a good long look at it, silence, and then he said, that's not a judicial warrant. That's an administrative warrant. And they specifically pointed it out, and they were not able to gain entry access into the car. And I think they were able to drive off after that. And it just goes to show, like, just down to the tiniest details. Absolutely. It's a genuine thing that, there's that joke about if I ask you if you're a cop, do you have to tell me that you're a cop? But in this case, there are actual genuine judicial and lawful things that you can know.
Yeah, and that video is actually really popular. We've utilized it ourselves too. But yeah, absolutely. It shows how ICE agents are how far they're willing to go into trying to intimidate someone. But fortunate enough, he knew the difference between an administrative warrant and a judicial warrant, right? He was able to drive off with the individuals who were in the cars.
I know for traffic stops, like that video, how much of a difference is there in that approach between someone's home or being an occupant of a building versus a traffic stop?
They're actually really similar. So same thing, let's say you're driving and you're stopped by an ICE official. Again, you have the right to remain silent. So you can either give them the name rights card or just simply tell them, hey, I'm choosing to remain silent. This is my right. And then from there, nothing should occur, right? It can turn into a waiting game, right? Either you call your attorney and tell them what's happening. It can honestly go different ways. For example, I forgot to mention that even when an ICE officer is saying that they do have a judicial warrant for you, it's important for individuals to not open their door, because once they open their door, they allow for that entrance of ICE. And then it just puts everybody who's in the home at risk. So it's important that if that situation does happen, just tell them to show you the warrant through the window or slide it through under the door. And the same thing for your vehicle. You can open your window like this much.
Yeah, like an inch, not even. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just enough for the paper to go through. Or hold it up. Yeah, hold it up to the door, the window.
Yeah, they can hold it through the window, but definitely do not open the door because they're gonna get you. Honestly, we've seen a lot of situations where they actually do that, and it's just really unfortunate because our community is not aware what could happen in those situations, and they're trying to do the right thing. Especially being an immigrant, you never want to defy law enforcement orders, so they try to comply as much as they can. But when it comes to ICE officials and driving, so do not drive if you do not have a license. Make sure that you have a license here in the state of Illinois. If you are an undocumented immigrant, you can go to the Secretary of State and receive a license. But if you do not have a license, do not drive. But yeah, your right to remain silent, your right to ask for an attorney, your right to refuse to sign any documents. And then also if you're driving and you are going to be detained, and you have children with you, you can also call a family member to come pick up other children that are with you. If there's no one that can come to your aid, let's say somebody doesn't have any family, they can also call DCFS, and they will get involved. But yeah, same thing applies. Just make sure that, don't respond to any questions. Exercise your right to remain silent. It's one of the most important things that they can do.
Speaking of families, what can families and friends do if someone has been arrested by ICE?
Yeah, so if somebody is detained by ICE, so they can do many different things. One, you can contact us, Illinois Workers in Action. We can give you our phone number, our website, and our email, but basically you need to contact a community organization so that they can help you through the process of deportation of your individual being detained. So basically after this, a lawyer will intervene, and there's many different hotlines. So for example, we have here in Illinois, we have ICER, so the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. They have their own hotline, and we utilize that information as well to spread. So individuals can call that hotline and ask for support, or they can contact us. But number one, it's really important for them to contact a community organization to help them to locate where their family member is being detained. So in the state of Illinois, we don't have any detention centers. So the family member, if they are detained, they can be in Wisconsin, in Indiana, or Kentucky.
Wow.
But again, it's important for them to contact community organizations or legal representatives ASAP so that we can figure out where the family member is. And there is a website.
And IWA, it goes for the whole state of Illinois. So if you're listening to this and you're not in Illinois, maybe go and find and contact other organizations. But you do cover the whole state of Illinois.
Yes, we do cover the state of Illinois. However, if we're not in one specific region,
sure,
then we will connect you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for the website to check and see if your family member is detained, it's locator.ice.gov. And then when you enter that website, you just part the individual's name, date of birth, and other identifiable information that can help them locate the individual.
And it's still working as of this recording, as of March 4th, because I know there's a lot of federal infrastructure going on that's maybe coming down, at least on the internet, on the end user side, and it's a little scary there. But for now, you have that resource. Yeah.
And for example, let's say an individual is driving, and an ICE officer does stop them, and it kind of like escalates to them getting detained. It's worth the individual sharing their name and their date of birth so that they're easier to find and locate. So those are some things that I would recommend where it comes to a situation where, you are getting detained, it escalates, they use force or whatnot. It's important that you do give them their name, your name and date of birth, as that can help your family locate you a little bit faster.
Yeah. When it comes to a place of business or place of work, what's the best practice for people there?
So when it comes to businesses and employers and employees, it's important for individuals to have different areas marked as private or authorized staff only. And this just is basically a protected layer so that ICE officers know that they cannot go in there unless, again, they have a judicial warrant. So those are considered private spaces. However, there are public areas, right, within a workplace, whether it's a grocery store, factory, outside. And those public areas, those are areas where ICE can enter without any warrant or judicial warrant. So parking lots, lobbies, or waiting areas. So it's important, again, for individuals to know and exercise their rights. I think even having like the break room, if they can put a sign that says private or staff only, things like that, that would make it a little bit difficult for ICE to enter or for them to understand that, they would need a warrant to do so. But when it comes to being in the workplace, immigration can also go to workplace for different issues. For example, if there is an immigration audit, if there is a raid, or if they're going to detain certain people. And again, a raid, basically ICE agents goes to the work site without having any warning as far as an investigation they're doing. Or an audit, it's basically when ICE goes to your business to check if you followed their rules for the Form I-9. And I-9 is basically employment verification. So making sure that the individuals in your business do have authorization to work legally in the United States, or they can simply go for a specific individual that they have on their list. So there's different reasons as to why ICE will be at work. So again, they must have a warrant signed by a judge or permission from their employer to enter those private areas. But if you're in a public area of your workplace, and if ICE does stop you, you have the right to remain silent, do not answer any questions.
Yeah.
And it's important to know to never, ever, ever carry any false documents with them.
As I'm listening to this, I'm thinking this is probably just good. A lot of this is just good advice in general for everyone to know a lot of their rights regardless. And I got to relate to this as well. Yeah. Knowing your documentation and not having fake documentation. I remember, and this was at an unspecified time and place, but I was in a kitchen where there was an ICE visit and they had to quickly pull out their documentation and they would go, "Hey, what does that say on the card?" It says the name is John. I was like, "Yeah, my name is John." It's like, not the most convincing way to do that. So in terms of preparation, because I know that in America's Black community, for instance, there is what's known as the talk, where Black parents have to talk to their children about, hey, if a police officer pulls you over, this is what you need to do in order to protect yourself. Has that been a kind of a talk for the undocumented community?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the state of Illinois, we do have protections for our immigrant community. However, that does not stop a police officer from doing what they want, within their beliefs, right? So here in the state of Illinois, police officers cannot ask someone for their immigration status. That is against the law. They cannot work with ICE, and they also cannot hold a person for a longer period of time for ICE to get to them. So, for example, if I was detained, if I was at the police station, and they do everything that they have to do, all the paperwork, and then they would be able to release me, that would be the proper way to do, right? So basically, the law says that, okay, once I am done being detained and processed, the police station cannot keep me longer at the request of ICE, so that they say, okay, keep Giselle there for 30 minutes. We'll be there and we'll see if she's undocumented or not. So they cannot do that. But yeah, I think a lot of families are definitely having these tough conversations because it is a reality. Many of the community that we work with are undocumented and they have children. So it's important for them to talk to their children, different things that can happen. For example, right now we're working on a lot of emergency planning for families. So basically making sure that they have a list of all their assets, who's going to take care of them, making sure if they do have bank accounts that they're able to utilize these bank accounts in another country, to take out cash in another country, making sure that they have short-term, explaining to them what short-term guardianship is. If you were to be detained or deported, do you have family here who's going to be responsible for your children? So making sure that they have a document where it states, in the event of XYZ happening, my children will be staying with their aunt, or they will be taken care of by their grandma. So different things in order. But yeah, definitely, these are really hard conversations to have, but unfortunately, that's the world that we're living in. So absolutely talking to our community, families are making plans and learning what should be important in a plan. So again, knowing and exercising their rights, identifying who will take care of the children, updating emergency contacts at school, at the doctor, memorizing important phone numbers. So of any attorneys, nonprofits, or maybe their consulate, embassy, and gathering all of those documents in a safe place, just because we never know when things are going to happen. So I feel like families need to be prepared just in case they do need auto documentation, making sure that they have everything in one spot put together. And also informing their emergency contact of like, hey, this is where I have all of my documents in case, I'm detained or anything like that. But no, definitely we are having this conversation. I myself am undocumented, and I have 3 small children. So it is,
Wow.
a possibility that could happen. But me and my husband, he's a US citizen, and I'm still pending to adjust my status, right? And a lot of people just think because you marry a US citizen, you're like automatically become a US citizen, but that's not how it is. There is no like that get to the back of the line, things like that.
It's a good TV show plot device, but actually playing how long? I mean, how long have you been waiting?
Me and my husband got married in 2019, and recently during the summer when Parole in Place came out, I applied for Parole in Place, which was basically going to allow me to adjust my status within the United States. But Parole in Place went away, so I'm back to, I guess, 0.
Wow.
But basically, for me, it's a matter of family separation. I do not want to go to Juarez and for them to tell me no, because I've seen it a number of times. Like there are so many stories of families who go through this process and they have their appointment, they have to go back to Mexico, to Juarez, and that's where they either deny or give you your residency card. And I've just seen it happen so many times that that's not a risk I'm willing to take right now, especially with me I have 3 babies. I have a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 8-month-old.
Wow.
So I couldn't imagine leaving them.
Oh yeah. Well, congratulations first and foremost. That 3 children on top of the work you do. Yeah, you guys have been busting your butt ever since. I mean, I know this organization's been around for a while, but how has the work been in the past since 2025 began?
Yeah, you said it. We've been really, really busy, honestly. Sometimes we've done 2, 3 presentations a day, whether it be virtual or in person. So we are definitely we're doing our part, doing the best thing we can do right now is educate our community. So that's exactly what we're doing, focusing, working throughout different cities, different counties, up in Lake County, through the southern suburbs and Will, Kane, DuPage, and the city of Chicago. So we've been doing a lot of presentations, partnering with different schools, university, colleges, church, other nonprofits, community members. So we've been really busy trying to do our part.
Yeah, and forgive me if I ask this, but how many people are part of your like the operation?
That is a great question. We're only a team of 4.
Okay, so I've been looking at your guys' Instagram. I see your stories every now and then. It's like, oh, this must be like the travel team, the 3 of them. No, that's literally 75% of the whole organization.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're very grassroots. We're really passionate about the work that we do, which is why we go so hard at it. But we have amazing community navigators that also help us. So we have about 10 different volunteers, and we have 5 community navigators that basically do a lot of this work as well.
Yeah. Real quick, going back to the presentation, how can citizens help, particularly when they're filming? So if they're on the street and they see an ICE stop, is there anything that they can do?
Yeah, I think they can definitely pull out their phone and like you said, record and film, but it's important for them to narrate exactly what's happening. So for example, naming the street, the time, the date, what individuals are getting arrested or detained. But for them, they can do it from a safe distance. Do not agitate the situation. Do not make it worse for the individual who is getting detained. But they can also be very helpful. If a person is about to get detained, and let's say this person has no idea they have rights, they can shout at them saying, hey, you have the right to remain silent. Do not tell them your immigration status. You have the right to an attorney. So different things that they're able to help.
I think there was a clip, of someone with a megaphone going around telling detainees their rights as they're getting arrested.
Yeah, because I think it's really critical. Although we're trying to do the best that we can, the reality is there's a lot of individuals and we cannot reach them all.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important for allies to learn different ways on how they can help. They can also like you mentioned, right? Like so the rapid response team, they can be part of the rapid response team, which is basically monitoring, tracking different immigration activities, sending alerts to different organizations, but doing it in a way that doesn't create fear, but that it's verifiable information that can come from nonprofits as well. I think that's a good point to make because there's a lot of misinformation and fear that people are putting out. Like I think when Trump began his term, a lot of people were just taking pictures of like undercover police officers, and they were just spreading it throughout in our community. Was really, really scared. But yeah, I think they can definitely be an ally. They can use their privilege to speak up where immigrant voices cannot. They can educate themselves. Like we said, there's no like back of the line or paying XYZ of money to get your status adjusted. So I think it's important to educate as an ally, educate yourself on the different topics that are happening with immigration. It's not easy. There is not one single undocumented person that wants to be undocumented.
Yeah.
None of us do. It's just, our immigration system is so broken and nobody wants to leave their home country, right? A lot of people are coming to the United States for a better opportunity, fleeing violence and different things. So I think also if people can be a little bit more humane and have compassion, that goes a long way.
Yeah. Giselle, I wanted to really thank you for your time. I know you're busy. How many times have you done this seminar today?
Today I actually scheduled, I blocked off my schedule because I have to do some grant reporting.
Oh, okay. There you go. The boring work, I presume. Yeah. This is I don't know how you social workers do it. But no, Giselle, thank you so much for your time. Please keep up the good work. And I guess we'll see you out there. I do want to thank you because I think you were in Bolingbrook about a month ago. And you stopped by with a demonstration. A lot of young, I think that demonstration was like 50 to 100, almost all of them young people, like high school, college, and like maybe a couple out of their 20s, but still. And they kept telling me like, yeah, I'm here because a lot of my family are too afraid. They can't be here in case they get detained. So there's a lot going on, and you got a lot more work to do. But thank you so much for your time, and thank you for doing it.
No, thank you, Dominic. I really appreciate you reaching out, and I think it's really important for individuals to get a glimpse of what's happening, what is the reality of some.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, so we have a section here in the script that says things we couldn't get to because things happen too fast and I have a full-time job.
What the fuck, Dom? Don't I pay you enough?
So 1, Lakin Riley Act's other provision allowing states to sue the federal government over immigration-related decisions, which allows for more weaponized lawsuits to clog the courts. 2, Mahmoud Khalil's arrest by ICE on bullshit charges for his pro-Palestinian activism, leading to a showdown between the ACLU and Trump administration over First Amendment rights for green card holders. 3, detention of Rumeysa Ozturk, a student who was stopped in the middle of the street by masked members of ICE, who ganged up on and wrestled her phone out of her hands. All of it caught on camera that you can find online, and all because of quote-unquote support for Hamas, or in her actual case, writing a letter. 4, deportation of Armando Abrego Garcia and subsequent jailing in an El Salvadorian prison, which the Trump administration admitted was done on an administrative error, and they still won't bring him back. 5, ICE extrapolating taxpayer information from the IRS, potentially to help locate migrants, which is just great if you want people to actually pay their taxes. And 6, enemy alien acts invocation. I didn't even really fill that one out with context. That's just crazy because I think that one's like a centuries old.
Yeah.
It's from like 1792. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, that's great. So we're pulling every step out of the book here. This summer's going to be lit. Love it.
Yeah, it is.
On the ICE website, its mission statement reads, protect America through criminal... Actually, no. Who's got the best Fash voice? Here, Andy.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
That's right.
Sound like a piece of shit.
Wow.
Go ahead, Mussolini.
Protect America through criminal investigation. No, too much. Okay. Protect America through criminal investigations and enforcing immigration laws to preserve national security and public safety.
You put the bacon on that one.
Was that dickish enough?
Yeah. Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
That was good. All right, monologue time. It is abundantly clear, as it has long been, this is all bullshit. Rather, ICE is the result of neoliberal hand-wringing over critical issues such as resource allocation, wealth disparity, workers' rights, and honestly so much more. As such, ICE tramples our communities, terrorizes our neighborhoods, and devastates the moral fabric of our nation. And it does so by employing the tactics and strategies of gang stalking and windowless black vans. There can exist a world where ICE can be abolished, but we're not quite there yet. We have to get through this first. I've got to admit, not too long ago, I believed in a system such as America's. Cold and at times careless, but not concertedly cruel. After all, my parents did the right thing when they moved here from the Philippines. They saved the money, applied for the visas and jobs, waited in lines, both physical and administrative. My mother arrived first, working as a nurse on the night shift. For 2 whole years, she worked in America while my father waited back in the Philippines. They burned a lot of phone cards across many time zones, keeping that marriage alive. But it worked. The American dream was mine for the taking when I was born in the 90s, just a stone's throw from the Mag Mile overlooking the Loop. I grew up my whole life suburban, but Chicago, for all its sins, is enough to win over any foolish heart, and fool me into believing I had earned it. I now realize looking down on someone clawing their way to where I was born into, well, that's just embarrassing to say the least. Years and years of waiting, paying tax while not receiving the benefits. You can't even get arrested without jeopardizing your whole living situation. Now there's a presidency trying to take away the amendment that gave slave children their rights. Again, after decades of the politics of knuckle-dragging and lip service. As Giselle Rodriguez said, no one wants to be an undocumented citizen. So why is that process so impossible? We don't have time to go over that, but like I said, knuckle-dragging and lip service. Meanwhile, you've got not an actual doctor, Dr. Phil, giving free propaganda to Tom Homan on the streets of Chicago, while the former has the gall to talk about confirmation bias.
I spent Sunday with the new border czar Tom Homan in Chicago watching ICE agents round up some very dangerous people. All told, there were 956 arrests Sunday. Despite what many would like to believe, this was not some random sweep picking up people indiscriminately. Are you going into schools and arresting children at schools?
No.
Is anything like that happening?
No, sir.
The number one reason for these raids is to get criminals off the street and keep our communities and families safe. But why let facts get in the way of a good headline? One of the lead stories from the local NBC station in Houston read, "Know your rights in Texas if stopped by police, immigration agents, or the FBI." NBC News, Trump immigration raids snag U.S. citizens. If you read the rest of the NBC News story, you'll find out those citizens were not arrested. They were asked for identification. Unnerving? Maybe. Snagged? That's what you call confirmation bias.
For the record, I know a few professors and a few people with their actual doctorate who would tell you this free PR stunt for ICE is so much worse than just confirmation bias. Anyway, yeah, sure, let's assume they're criminals. They're criminals law enforcement should have been going after anyway. Why is ICE involved? No other federal law enforcement agency is going after criminals? Hell, why do people commit retail theft or join gangs? I'm not taking away individual responsibility, but Jesus Christ, you'd think in a world where Squid Games on Netflix is screaming at you about the external pressures of the cruel neoliberal system, we might just be able to think beyond bad man leave country equals good country.
That's how I think.
Now,
Wait, it's not that? What's this podcast about?
look, if the kids in cages aren't enough to scare you, I'll say it one other way. ICE should scare you because it's the government agency tasked with tracking people down, detaining people, and deporting people. That's their mission. And all of their employees spend 8 hours a day plus tracking people down, detaining people, and deporting people. In a January 27th article, the Daily Mail wrote,
On Friday alone, ICE authorities detained 445 illegal migrants with criminal records, with a further 148 migrants without rap sheets also taken into custody ready for deportation.
Never mind the squalid living conditions of migrants in ICE detention centers. Never mind ICE's history with the liberal application of hysterectomies of female ICE detainees. Never mind, once again, Guantanamo Bay is still a thing. On February 17th, Tom Homan asked the Department of Justice to look into AOC, despite all she was doing was informing her constituents of their rights.
But, Tom, you got AOC out there doing a webinar to help illegals avoid, I guess, apprehension, giving tips about how to continue to remain in the country and ultimately game the system.
And I sent an email today to the Deputy Attorney General. At what level is that impediment? Is that impediment? I'm not an attorney. I'm not a prosecutor. Is that impediment? Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Is she crossing the line? So I'm working with the Department of Justice and finding out where is that line that they cross. So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now, but I need the AOG to opine on that. But because there's impediment is impediment, in my opinion. I'm not a prosecutor, but we need some further guidance on that.
She was telling people what their rights were. She knows that's all that was. He knows that's all that was. The DOJ knows that's all that was. We all know that's all it was. But it starts with threats. And when there's no concrete backlash beyond the angry posts, it will escalate. Conservatives, especially the talking heads, spent all of the Obama years in terror of him taking their guns in mass raids and instituting a one world government or something. Today, it starts with big government going after people you don't care about, that have no legal protection, who have committed crimes. Tomorrow, that's going to turn into, okay, they haven't committed crimes, but they don't have legal protection. Later, that's going to turn into, oh, but they're not here legally. Then at some point, I promise you, at some point, that's going to turn into, well, I never cared for that neighbor. I never really knew them. Maybe you won't say it out loud, but it's going to cross someone's mind. Keep going with that thought process until the whole damn machine is too big to fail and has you and your loved ones in its jaws. And yes, a lot of this was happening under Biden, which is bad, but it all feels a little more plausible under the old new guy. For the record, we let the Obama administration get away with drone striking an American citizen. So what will Trump get away with under a campaign designed around vengeance? Thank you to everyone that lent themselves to this episode. The unnamed Bolingbrook local who organized the protest, Illinois State Representative Dagmara D. Avalar, Alderman Byron Sigcho Lopez, Omar Flores from the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, Giselle Rodriguez from Illinois Workers in Action, and finally, Andy, Matt, and you, the listener, for allowing me to hijack the show and talk about this. It is always my privilege to have your time and attention. You can follow the show on socials. Just search Poor Proles Almanac. You can follow me on Instagram at Blue Collar Jazz and on Blue Sky at Domguan, or search Blue Collar Jazz. Stay safe, and if I'm lucky, I'll see you out there. Do you guys have a Discord? You showed me pictures of Discord. I should probably get invited to that Discord.
You are always welcome, Dom.
Dude, to be honest, Dom, I kind of thought you were. I haven't been on the Discord in years. I thought you were kind of going hard on the Discord. What's it like, Andy?
There's like 1,800 people.
Jesus Christ!
Is it really active?
Yeah, it's super active.
It's a bunch of fucking preppers and anarchists. Of course, it's at its Discord. Of course,
I got nowhere